Getting ready to do the break-in service on the 2022 DS 120 X3. Everyone does it at different times. I'm gonna go ahead and do it at she's got about 550 miles on it. And I'm not gonna do the front diff or the rear gear case. Even the manual will tell you to do it around 2,000 miles for the first change, but obviously you need to always be considering what conditions you ride in. If you're in a lot more mud and water, if your seals are getting bad, that's the only time to really worry about it a lot. Is if you know your seals could be going bad and you're riding in a lot of mud and water, then you're going to need to change your gear oil, diff oil more often. But I'm mostly trails, dirt, a little bit of mud. So I'm gonna wait a little while longer to do the break-in on the front and rear diff. Did go ahead and order a brand new clean air filter because we've been riding in quite a bit of dust. Got the oil change kit there, but before I can begin that, gonna have to get it cleaned up. Got some of the regular Can-Am XPS wash for my foam cannon, and a few of my sockets and stuff to get ready for that. I think the secondary plug is 17 millimeter, and I believe the main one's an 18. I could be mistaken, but I think that's right. And we shall get started, but first, got to get it cleaned up. I would also add that I see a lot of speculation about the oil weights. I just got the general use Maxima 5W40. This is my opinion only. I mean, if you're running in a lot of warmer temperatures all the time, maybe you go with the 10W50. But the 5W40 is a good general weight oil for kind of like, all around. But I'm just going to go with 5W40 instead of the 10W50. I got the WD-40 set out. I'm just simply going to use that to clean the inside of the air box out before I put the new air filter in. It won't last long, but it'll catch a little extra dust and grit in the canister for a little while. But you can use a variety of different things to clean your air box with, so different contact cleaners and etc. All right, we've got her cleaned up. The Can-Am XPS wash does a pretty good job. I've got everything set out. Got the replacement filter, the Maxima oil change kit. I don't know why anymore you can't get bottles that have the clear sight lines on them. Makes it so much easier when you're judging exactly how much oil you're putting in, but it's not a big deal. The kit comes with, obviously, your cleaner filter. This is your new crush washer for your 18 millimeter, your crush washer for your secondary, and your new oil ring for the oil filter cap. New seal for that. Got my gloves set out. I'm going to go ahead, though, since it's so much easier, and do the air filter first. I've already loosened these clips. You got one on the bottom, one on the side, one on the top, and there's one tucked in hidden back here. And you can just kind of, after that, set it off as dust has come out of it then. There we go. We'll clean that out with WD-40, but as you can tell, the dust is coming off of it. Yeah, it should have been changed earlier. See how much sediment's inside the box. Let's see what happens with this. Yeah. So it sucks in a lot of air for that triple ace. So this bad boy, I should have already changed it probably, but we're gonna get her done now. So clean one. I'm going to get the air box cleaned up, and then we shall put that back in there and clamp everything back down. All right, got the lid wiped out with WD-40. Wiped out the inside of the casing really well. This is the fins to the turbo. And that's what I wiped out just out of the air filter housing right there. So let's take and see if we can get this new one in there. It just fits in there snugly. There it goes. I like to make sure it's firmly sealed or defeating the whole purpose. Now, I'm gonna put the cover back on. You just simply put it back on the same way you took it off. Make sure you got your hooks all the way out. It's gonna slip over easy. And you got, the first time I took it off and on, that little lip there, I didn't realize that it was to fit in there, and I was getting pretty angry and trying to rough house it on there and didn't realize it had to slip over that. So I'm gonna get the cover back on and we shall start on the oil. Okay, I've got everything set up. I don't know how well this is gonna work. We're gonna try it, fit it through that hole there. After looking this thing over, all the machines I've serviced and done maintenance on, I don't think there's gonna be a good way to avoid a huge mess without dropping the skid pan, and that's not gonna happen today. Your primary drain plug, 17 millimeter. I'm gonna stick to using a 6-point socket. I've heard a lot of horror stories about rounding off the heads and stuff on either the filter cap or the drain plugs. So I'm gonna use the 6-point, 17 millimeter for the big magnetic drain plug. Your secondary, same 6-point, 10 millimeter. The oil filter cap up here, I used an 8 millimeter 6-point. Had to use a swivel, and the reason why is while it's easy to get to this one and this one, you will not be able to fit your ratchet unless you have a swivel ratchet to let it bend. You're not gonna be able to reach that one. So I've already loosened it. I just use the swivel to reach it. So I'm gonna get all this put in, get this funnel put in under the skid pan and get to draining some oil, and we shall resume in a minute. That is your 10 millimeter hex right there, and then the one right beside it is your 17 millimeter. I'm simply going to access them with an extension and or swivel right through here and just run it back up to them. It worked decently well, but not perfectly. It's not much you can do. I got probably 85 to 90% of it in there, getting it to go right in to the funnel. But I do want to point out, when you get ready to take out your 10 millimeter secondary drain plug, you can get your socket and extension through and straight on your 17 millimeter. But when you get ready to do this one, the frame cross member will not let you get your socket straight on there. Do not try to torque it or break it loose like that. I took my extension off and just simply used the socket on the ratchet and took the extension and put through the hole and held the ratchet up against it and got it on there in line and broke it free. That way the socket would fit onto the head of your secondary drain properly. So just a heads up that way, because if you don't look from the side, it will not fit on there straight because of the frame cross member. So you need to improvise a little bit, make sure you don't strip the head off of it. I got almost all of it in there. I got a little drip there. So it worked well enough to justify its purchase. So now I'm going to remove the filter cap and get the filter out and let that drain. Probably gonna be very difficult to keep a huge mess from happening, but we'll see what we can do. The flex funnel did a decent job, so we'll see what happens. Okay, I let it drain a good long while. I've got the 3 8 millimeter hex bolts out, and normally I've been saying there's a ton of oil that just gushes everywhere when you do this, but I let it drain for a really long time. And let's see. Look at, oh, look at there. Not bad. hardly anything went anywhere. But let's see how much is in this housing. It's fit in there pretty good, but it's coming. There it goes. Small string coming out. So, looks to me like the moral of the story will be, if you're in a rush, you're probably going to make a huge mess. You're going to make a small mess either way. But if you slow down, let it drain for a good long while, you're going to help yourself big time, because it looks like, I'm going to let that filter drain into the filter housing a little more. I have a little bit going back into my pail. So, take your time, a little patience. You're gonna make a small mess, but it won't be too terribly bad. And out we go. We'll set the dirty filter down. I was happy to see on my magnetic plug, as you can tell, there is basically hardly no metal shavings at all. Extremely minor. So I'm relieved about that. Alright, I'm gonna get the drain plugs back in, press the new filter into the cap, get my new O-ring on there. Got our new crush washers to go on our drain plugs, and I'll have my funnel and we'll start getting it refilled. Everything's all back in. The drain plugs are both back in the bottom. They're a little bit difficult to get back in, but not too bad. I will add, when you put your new filter in, make sure you press it all the way down. The rubber end fits down over that fitting in there, so make sure it's comfortably pressed down, and do not over torque your cap bolts. So the filler hose is quite deep in here, so I'm just using a long neck skinny funnel to reach in there to it. It's no big deal. I've done put 2 of the quarts in there. I'll have about 1 3/4 more to go. Gonna take the small grease gun I got here. Go ahead and grease. You got one here on the left side of your sway bar. One on the right side as well. And on the front, you've got the grease zerks on your upper A arms. Down here on the lower, there are none here, but you're gonna have them on the driver's side of the machine, the same as the passenger. And throw a little grease in those. And I'm gonna check the CVT air filter under here and clean it out, and that's gonna be it. I hope this is helpful information, and I know that most people that's familiar with machines like I am most of our lives, this isn't anything new. But somebody new that hasn't messed with one of these before, I do hope it helps. Y'all have fun, stay safe out there. I did want to add real quick on the end, I feel like this is pretty important too. This is your tube filters above your CVT, which you have 2 CVT intakes coming in there, if I'm not mistaken. The way it looks, I washed this all out real good with water, and then I wiped it down with WD-40 real good. Wiped the whole case inside down with WD-40 and washed this out, dried it out, washed it pretty good, wiped them out. I also wiped this down really good. If you look closely, you can see how much dust gets down in your CVT. Now, I'm not taking the time to blow them out today, the clutches, primary and the secondary. I'll probably do that when I service the front diff and the rear gearbox. And about another 400 or 500 miles, I'll blow them out real good. But I just kind of wanted to add that and show what that looks like. Y'all have a good one.